Hello, and welcome to the Albright Scholar for March 2023. My name is John Pankratz. I teach history at Albright, and each month it's my privilege to welcome BCTV viewers and residents of Greater Reading to take a glimpse inside our learning community up on North 13th Street, to look at the work being done by teachers and students, and to think a bit about its impact on all of us. Its impact on all of us. Last month, you'll recall, I invited atmospheric chemist Laura McBride to talk about the Earth's atmosphere and some of the insults to it. Today, we're going to be much more local. We're going to look at the city of Reading, who, even though it doesn't look it, is turning 275 years old later this week. And I'm here with sort of my co-celebrant in part of that Bicenter quasquagenary celebration, Mike Miller, the great public artist of Reading. Mike, welcome to the Albright Scholar.
Thank you, John.
Mike is well known to many of our viewers as someone who has not only rendered the city more beautiful by creating a whole series of remarkable murals, but also made it a more thoughtful and introspective place as well. And I can testify that he's one of the great collaborators that we could have. Mike, you're now teaching, as am I, teaching at Albright, right?
Yeah. It's a big change, but it's been an exciting year so far, kind of learning being introduced to the Albright community and teaching at the college level for the first time. It's been a great experience so far. Yeah.
Right. For many years you taught at Wyomissing High School?
Correct. Yeah, 28 years I taught public school. So it was a exciting career, but I think I was just ready to broaden my horizons. And the position that I'm now taking at Albright allows me to collaborate with lots of schools throughout the county, public schools, through the TXPL program, the Total Experience Learning Program, as well as just learning or working with the Albright undergraduate students.
Right, it's a great project, and this has been spearheaded by Adele Shade, who's the founding director of Total Experience Learning. And there's kind of an amazing laboratory up on the corner of Rockland and 11th Street that is now occupied by all sorts of classes and a huge public art studio, right?
So last fall, we kind of sort of soft opened the public art space, public art studio in that building. And at that point, there were a lot of high-tech labs there, and she was explaining to me, what exactly would you need? And I said, I just need a large space with sinks, and I can take care of everything else. So slowly through the fall, I've just kind of, sequentially been moving into that space, figuring out what I needed, and now, man, we're just filling it with so much art in progress. We probably have 12 projects in the works, and several projects that we're actually in the process of fabricating right now.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I was just over there on Thursday evening, and a crowd of people really from all walks of life and all over Berks County were there working on one project, but others are in the model stage and others are sort of nearing completion.
Yeah, that's what's neat. The space is so large, and when we have gatherings of people from, all different aspects of, the last Thursday it was all aspects of the college community, I really wanted to showcase the different projects that we were working on. So many people were painting, but we also had a silkscreen station, and we had, you there taking photographs. So and all the different ages of people that are coming together to work together to make art collaboratively. It's just kind of a dream come true for me.
It's such a participatory atmosphere. People are coming in, and in some ways you have an awful lot of planning figured out and a lot of direction and a lot of guidance in place. but then people with their own eye and their own hand can add to that vision and make it real and make it large and make it wall size.
Right, right. I mean, Reading is filled with a lot of super talented artists and muralists, and I don't feel like I'm encroaching in on the work that they're doing, because I feel as though my specialty is more about, giving the general public who maybe don't have that huge amount of experience in painting or design or any of that, but giving them enough tools that they feel they're contributing to these projects that are enormous. So they can point to that little section of the big wall and say, I helped with that. Yeah, and it becomes theirs. I've seen it happen over the years, and I feel like that's what I can do well. And that's really what I want to bring.
I think giving
to everyone.
that sense of ownership is just so precious, because very often people, and especially given the last couple of years of pandemic shutdown, and people feel a little bit alienated even from their own lives. And I think to give them possession of something that they can be proud of and identify with this place.
It's always, people always say, oh, we need to get young people involved in this. But I think the great thing about having this studio space now is there are young people coming in, but I have a great group of seniors, just friends that I know who've retired or whatever, and they're looking for ways to be a part of the community and contribute. And man, as soon as I post, I'll be working in the studio at this time, they're there. They're ready to work. So
and it's a great mix too. I mean, I think the seniors love these young kids and vice versa.
And the college students, I mean, I think it's really gotten on their radar in the past couple months. In the fall, it was, like I said, it was a real gradual start.
Yeah.
But now that we have the green light on quite a few projects, the college students are coming over just because they're interested in community service, or they're interested in painting, or they want a place to, just enjoy the company of their friends and be doing something. Yeah. So.
Well, out of that spirit of collaboration, you and I are working together, and I forget who set us up together. Was it Laura Reppert and her committee?
Laura. Yeah. And she's been the one who's orchestrating many of the events for the 275th birthday of Reading.
Right. Yeah. And of course, I've known Laura for 20 some years, and she was one of the original faces of Reading back in 2004. And so she knew I had this ongoing civic photography project that I revisit every 5 or 10 years or so. And she says, is there a way to get that up on the wall? And I think when she thought about walls and beauty and meaning, she thought of you.
Yes, yeah. And I've been doing murals, painted more formal murals for years. Yeah. And a lot of them, people, most people think we just go to the wall and paint, but many of the murals, especially the ones in harder to reach spaces high up on the wall, we paint them on a substrate that then we later glue to the wall. So it's a nice way to paint in a controlled studio space. Right. And I've been doing that for years, and it's wonderful. But recently, I've become more interested in more temporary works of art, where those can last. Some of the first projects that I did with that, the polyester interfacing, they're now 15, 17 years old, and they look good. But it's also nice to just have works of art for a shorter period of time. Yep. We enjoy a work of theater and a work of music, and we can enjoy, I feel like, pieces of visual art without having that responsibility that they have to last for eternity.
They don't have to live in the gallery. They could live in our minds and our memories.
So I've become interested in, and I've been just exploring wheat paste art. And I recently took a class at the Goggle Works last year in silkscreen printing. So I just have been kind of putting all these things together, and I still feel like I still have a ways to go to perfect this method, but fortunately, people are giving me the opportunity to experiment a little bit, and hopefully we're gonna, we'll work out the the process, in a more formal way, and just really begin making some beautiful works of art that don't have to last forever.
Right.
Yeah.
And people are going to
already
see
here.
one of these results as kind of a gigantic birthday card to the city
Yeah.
of Reading, and that's going to happen over the next few months. You and I have been working together now for a while, collecting some fresh faces of Reading, and then you've been creating these absolutely beautiful framing elements that are going to surround the
Right.
pictures.
Yeah, so as I was beginning to think of how we could combine the portraits, I began thinking of there'd be a silkscreen frame that would go around it, and what would be the theme of the frame. And then as it began, that just became more and more like the frame really circles the portrait, and it became problematic for me symbolically. So we created almost like a tile pattern that these sort of diamond prints are going to sort of surround the portraits and kind of interweave with them. And the subject matter of the prints are dedicated more to the history of Reading, where I feel like the portraits somewhat reflect the history as well, but I feel like that is, who we are today too. So it's kind of, where we are now, but also looking back.
Right.
Yeah.
We can give people a little bit of a sense of this. I know that we're seeing some of those diamond framing elements, but 4 of those will surround each of the photographic portraits.
Yeah, there they are.
And it will create this wonderful, almost lattice, or as you said, tile work facade on the south wall, the tall south wall of the Goggle Works, or of the DoubleTree Hotel.
Correct. So as I was thinking of I met with the Passing Scene author. Oh my gosh.
George
Meiser. Yes. Few months ago, and he and I, through our conversation, I identified a bunch of important, sort of notable historic structures of Reading, and then as I began to talk with folks planning this project, other people had ideas. So I feel as though the list grew, and I didn't want to necessarily draw all of these. It wasn't my place. So I've been working with Steve Simons, who teaches at Reading Muhlenberg Career Technology Center, and he invited me in to work with his class last year. So I asked if he and his students would be interested again. So I began going in there, introducing the project to them, just kind of saying, if you would like to, help me with this. And we had a great, response of volunteers, students helping to create the designs that then were incorporated into the silkscreen. So I feel like that really was a nice way to get the artwork for the prints, with the youth from Reading. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that gesture of inclusivity is so important. So they actually saw photographs of some of these sites?
I gave them topics, and then they researched it themselves.
Oh, great.
Looked for, many of the photos of the images, the places, whether they still exist or not, they're still accessible. So they found images, and then that gave them sort of the self-determination to lay out the composition themselves.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And then I've had some Albright students who are really talented at sort of the inking and the drawing part of it. They've been helping with the final drawings, kind of refining them, and then I burn these to a silkscreen with an emulsion process at Goggle Works. But then we've started our road show a couple weeks ago because, like you said, we want hundreds of people to be involved in this somehow, whether it's posing for a photograph or pulling a silkscreen print.
Or both.
Or doing the drawing. So yeah, we've been out at the libraries the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, we've had a great visit at the branch libraries and then at the main library last week. And we've met a lot of people, and we've met parents and children and seniors and,
Right.
and everybody. And I've been so impressed by, as you introduced the silkscreen process to some of these youngsters, and some of them only 5 years old. And you wouldn't think that black ink and 5-year-olds go
Right.
together.
Yeah.
But I think you inspire in them both a kind of carefulness and also a kind of confidence.
Yeah, and I think it's, silkscreen prints is something that we may not be familiar with the process, but most of us wear T-shirts that have a screen printed image on them. So when I explain that to kids, they're like, oh yeah, so that's how they do this? It's like, yeah, so it's kind of a neat way to learn about your world a bit. Yeah.
In creating the photographs, I've gone back to sort of my very original technique that I undertook in 2004, 2005. Rather than doing environmental portraits of people surrounded by their places and that sort of thing, which is a lovely and interesting style, I've just focused in on the faces and photographed against a plain gray background with a simple single light softbox. And so it's really their faces, their expressions, their personalities that I'm going after. And then these wonderful framing elements provide a context of place.
Right.
And I'm not sure whether Maria McDonald ever visited Carsonia Park, but she could have.
Yeah.
Might have happened.
Right. I feel like it shows that intersection of how everything, comes together at in a city. I'm going to pull up on a slide an image of how these are actually going to be sort of incorporated. There you can see how the prints will surround the portraits, and some of them are going to have a red sort of background to them as well. And still working on this final element that the prints that will be, actually I'm going to back up one slide here. This is the wall on Penn Street. It's very generous of the DoubleTree to allow us to paste the side of their building for a few months. So that was the one test print that I put up a few weeks ago, and I'm trying to figure out an adhesive that will work for the period of time we'd like it to survive. So when it needs to be removed months from now, it's not going to become a huge chore. Yeah, so these, I'd like to eventually work with the prints that are going to be at the, I'll say the sidewalk level, the pedestrian level, that those white bands that are kind of interweaving with all the tiles, I would like to invite people, and I'm trying to sort of figure out that final element of this project, but that it would have a written word element to it that would be folks, the way they connect with Reading.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So then people can enjoy the portraits, enjoy the artwork, but then also have this written part that they can read as they're looking at the piece as a whole.
Wow.
The final thing is when this goes up, there'll probably be, I'm looking at probably close to 1,000 sheets of paper that will be attached to the building eventually, and the arrangement of the red and white prints within the grid pattern of this will create a bigger image that will be revealed when it's complete.
When it's complete.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be stopping traffic on Penn Street.
I hope so.
I think it might happen.
Yeah.
And I suppose the easiest way for people to see them if they're 60 or 70 feet up in the air is with a telescope or a drone or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's always the interesting thing for me, from my experience with public art, is I feel as though there's what I call the drive-by experience. There's the big, enormous image that we see, we can take in like a billboard for just a few moments, and that's that bigger picture. But I feel as though works of art should include, especially collaboratively made works that celebrate something that's an idea bigger than a work of art can capture. I want them to just be just filled with all kinds of subtle images and details, so that people who do want to investigate and learn a bit more and come closer to the work are rewarded for the time that they spend in front of it, that they'll have things to read and look at and enjoy and appreciate besides just the bigger picture. Yeah, that's always kind of been an element in my work throughout the years. So I think this one will certainly do that.
I think so. We have a wonderful location right across from the Santander Center,
Right,
and so I think crowds of people can go across the street and interrogate this very complex set
See
of
the
images.
big picture, and then hopefully, you know, the ones who are truly curious will be lured forward to find out a bit more.
Great. Well, this show is being broadcast on Monday, the whatever.
6th.
No, it's a week from today.
Oh,
so
okay.
the Monday the 13th. And the actual birthday of the city of Reading will be Thursday the 16th.
Correct.
Of March. And I know I'm going to set up again in City Hall, and then I think 2 other locations.
Yeah, I guess throughout the city on the actual date, there's going to be, as Laura describes them, birthday parties all over town. So I think that's a great way for people to gather and sort of celebrate the date. Yeah.
So I'll be there with my camera and my backdrop, and we can include, well, maybe a couple more hundred.
Right. Sure. And this piece will not be installed for the birthday. It's still in the process of being created, but it will go up when, hopefully, when this, you know, the weather calms down a little bit.
When spring weather is here, rather than.
So, and then that way it will be up for the summer months for people to really appreciate and enjoy.
Great. Well, I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to seeing this realized, and how grateful I am to Laura Ruppert for making this match, and for all the fun that we've had with citizens of Reading creating this celebration.
Yeah. I think I've made a lot of public art over the years, and the Reading Public Library has always been so welcoming to allow me to come in and cover their carpeted floors with tarps and bring in all this, you know, mural paint, and allow me to, you know, not make a mess, fortunately, but have that, you know, that risk involved. And this one, again, it's just been so wonderful working with so many residents from the city. I just love the libraries. They're just such a treasure for us to have here.
Yeah, that's been my experience as well. This is so much fun for me, simply to make the pictures, but then to meet people and feel their encouragement, and to see in many cases what it does for them in terms of lifting their self-esteem and giving them a stronger sense of self and identifying with this place.
Right.
It's been just so gratifying. Great. So lots to look forward to. I hope that I'll see some of you at one of these birthday parties on March 16th. I'll be shooting all day, but we'll look forward to seeing this mural take shape on that huge wall as well.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be up in the chairlift, am I?
No. That will be me, and hopefully the mounting process of all these isn't going to be too tedious. Yeah, I feel like I'm still a student of this process, and I remember when I was first doing the polyester interfacing murals, I worked with really small sheets, and now I can put up, 5-foot square or larger sheets, and I'm like, oh, why did I, worry about the smaller ones? But, I feel like that was the learning curve at that point, and that's what gave me, a little more control of the process. So hopefully, this won't take too long to go up.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Michael, thank you for joining me on the show.
And
for
thanks for the invitation.
And for this lovely work that we've been engaged in.
Yeah.
It's been such a pleasure. Good. Thank you for joining us as well. I'll be back again next month in April for another edition of the Albright Scholar. So long.